Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Growth in the Built Environment podcast. I'm joined by the great Steve Mullins today. We've been working with Steve for quite a while now, probably just under a year. Steve, I
It
think.
is, yeah, yeah. Time flies.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Steve's been, fantastic at helping us out understand the construction industry better and really providing that insight into, I suppose, how the bidding world works in construction. I mean, he's got a fantastic background in construction, which I'm sure he could quickly talk about. But yeah, super excited to have you here, Steve.
Thank you, thank you. No, good to catch up again. Yeah, well, I've been sport. I've been in the construction industry for just over 45 years. Actually, started off as an apprentice back in the early 90s, drawing steel frame buildings. Worked my way up. Sat in the big chair at Galliford Try, and for the past 5 years or so, I've been working on a consultancy basis, invariably going into projects where there were problems and a few grey hairs are needed just to untangle things. So I've been lucky, as I say. I've worked for Lang O'Rourke. I've worked with Ray O'Rourke, John Morgan at Morgan Sindall, Mark Farmer at Cast. Yes, some big names, some big hitters. So it's been a real privilege to have done what I've done.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, absolutely like amazing experience to have worked with all of those tier one contractors and work on as many like great projects that you've done. Steve, you could quickly, if I was to ask you the biggest or your favorite, most challenging project that you've worked on over your career, what would you say that project was?
You can roll all those into one. Biggest by far was Terminal T2A at Heathrow, £980 million worth of work. And yeah, a great place. Educated client. We worked over 6 million man hours without an incident, so fantastic health and safety, and just great to be involved with a proper piece of infrastructure. And if any of you out there fly through T2A, if you go down to the lift core by the car park, there's a plaque there with my name and a few thousand others, but there's a plaque with my name on it. So on a piece of public art as well.
Nice, awesome. And I mean, a project of that scale, like, how sort of, walk me through like a day to day in terms of how complex it is to manage all of the different things which are going on, all the different stakeholders, contractors, subcontractors, etc. Like, what does an actual day to day, managing a project like that look like?
We've only got an hour, Jamie, so we might be struggling here. It's a huge undertaking. We had over 5,000 men on site, and they all need control. You have a client team based on the site as well, but you know what you need to be doing and when you need to be doing it, and you're tied to the program, and you have a core of management there that will dictate what that labour is doing day by day. We got to a point where you bring all of the subcontract management into meetings, and we'd have a sheaf of drawings. They'd all have a different coloured pen, and they would be marking up on these drawings of the floor print of Heathrow Terminal 2 what they were doing and where they were doing it. So we had, before anybody went to work, a roadmap for the day, and you could track, you'd file all of those, so you knew what had been happening day by day. It's a historical document, but it's a great piece of data in terms of number of men, who was doing what, and you can plot that progress throughout the job. It's a real simple method, but it worked very well. And that was the core to it. Just keep people safe, but get things built. The Queen's coming in to open it on November the 25th, 26th, whatever it was. You can't double book her. She turns up and it's either done or it isn't. And it was finished on time.
Also, and I mean, like, I don't know how involved within the bid process you got for a contract like that, but I suppose like how early on would you be brought through? And I suppose like, how much preparation or planning or getting to know the customer does a contract like that take to essentially put a very high quality customer specific bid together when there's so many complex requirements and different sort of factors to that contract. So yeah.
I hadn't bid that. There's a team of guys above my head, our senior leadership from Lanner Walk, working in hand with Frovial, who are the JV partner for the delivery. So you've got there's a political piece where my bosses were dealing on a day to day with and then there's the delivery piece, which I was responsible for, say, shelling core, with other guys responsible for other elements of that build. It's a huge team effort. You've got to sit in rooms and plan what it is you're going to be doing over the coming hours, the coming days. A lot of talk about just-in-time delivery. I'm not sure that truly works, but you get yourself into a position where you know which cranes are which, what's going to be happening, how things are going to work, and it's just fascinating when you're working with that number of people, good people, driven by a great organisation that Langer was and still is. You get things done. It's remarkable what human beings can achieve in a pretty short space of time, in all honesty.
Mm. Yeah, no, 100% agree. How important would you say it is to get close and understand, the customer before work starts, before the project starts, even when you're creating the bid and the proposal for them? How important is it to truly understand their specific requirements and what they really need?
To me, that's absolutely key to any build project. And maybe if we move away from Heathrow, which was a monstrous best part of £1 billion worth of work, to some of the smaller things, if you're looking at the 60, 80, £100 million jobs, again, the clients that are coming to you are educated people and they want the best. They will engage their own consultant team. They'll have had advice in terms of cost. They will know pretty much what they can get for their money. But they need a contractor. They need a contractor to work with them, because the contractor has the access to real time live data in terms of cost and logistics. And you look at all that's going on around the planet at the moment, just everything is inflationary. So you need to be on top of that. But if you're not engaged and trusted by your clients, there's no relationship there. And that's not just going for a pint on a Friday. That's actually being able to work with those guys day in, day out, and get to a point where you're almost their best friend, because they're getting what they want. You're getting paid for doing what you want to deliver, and that just spins. That future work comes from those sorts of relationships. You lose work when you are trying to be too clever. If you're trying to hide a few pounds here and there, and then the client has a chief cost consultant, you will get caught out. And then once that trust is gone, you don't rebuild that. The future work dries up.
Yeah, I mean that is such a interesting point. So, in terms of building trust with that customer, is it purely based upon delivery? What would you say, like, I suppose, the main lessons that you found throughout your career in terms of being able to build, a really strong trust and connection and relationship with the customer?
You have to deliver. Any business that you work for, there's a track record there. Your Wilmot Dixons, your Waits, your Keys, these guys have been trading for hundreds of years and they're good at it. You are a relatively small cog in quite a big machine. But you, as that delivery professional that has to get under the client's skin and engage with them, and just have some empathy in terms of what it is that they want. They've got an idea. They can see in their mind what the building should look like at the end of the day. Excuse me. It's your job to deliver that. And if you're unable to deliver that for any reason, it's being able to have that conversation with them. If it's going to cost more than they have that conversation. Don't try and be too clever and too cute and try and cut corners, because it'll all go wrong. And yes, I think if there's nothing else that I've done, pride myself on those relationships with clients, taking them along with the journey. If you've got some bad news, share it. Don't try and hide it. But also, there's going to be lots of good news as well, and they're going to get some beautiful buildings, and that's what you have to aim to deliver.
Yeah, no, I mean, 100% agree. That is very good points. I suppose you mentioned some of the things there around, pricing, not cutting corners, and delivering a good job. I think in the bidding world, we've seen a lot more of the evaluation criteria shift more towards quality than price. I think I heard back in the day it was like 70-30 price to quality sort of recently shifted up, and now it's, I think, in some contracts 60-40 from quality to price. How do you think that impacts the overall delivery? And do you think that's a good thing for the buyer that, the bids are being scored in that way now?
I think it's entirely correct that they are scored in that way. There's an old adage in the construction world: you measure twice, you cut once, and that's just so true. Whether that is your simple cut of a timber joist or whether that's part of what you're doing in terms of bidding. Quality. I've just bought myself a new house. Okay, Berkeley Homes, wonderful people, and I've no doubt they're going to get it right in the end. But I've been in the house for a year, and they're still sorting stuff out, which suggests to me that when it was being built, it wasn't being built as well as it should have been. Now, if you're in control of a larger commercial project, you're not going to have the scope or the capacity to go back into that building once it's running to put things right. A house is a house. If there's a problem with the roof, they'll come and fix the roof. If you're in, say, the National Quantum Computing Centre in Harwell, which is my final project, which we built out with weights, you've got to get it right. These things need to be absolutely spot on. And when you're talking of fractions of a degree in terms of temperatures in rooms because of the work that they're doing, it needs to be right. It can't just be, you can't gamble on that quality and just hope things are going to be there. You need to get the people around you that are capable of delivering within those constraints and setting that as your goal. That's what the client wants you to build. That's what you deliver. So quality, I think, trumps cost every single time.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean that's why making sure you have such a strong quality proposal, and you're really effectively communicating that, is something that you can essentially deliver on, achieve, and then most importantly, as you suggest, actually follow through once the contract has been delivered. I suppose on to that, in terms of like work winning, obviously, you've been on both sides of it. Like how would you say within the construction industry, around the approach to work winning, if it is, fundamentally broken, and do you think it needs to be fixed, or does it just need to be refined slightly? What's your opinion on that?
Is it fundamentally broken? I'm not so sure it's broken. It's just very dated. There's a need maybe for a reset, and a lot of the stuff that we've been doing with AI can help that. But as I said before, you have an educated client and team who are going to be checking what you're doing, and that they will seek transparency when the work is being bid. You just need to get the scope right, and there's a need for people to understand what it is. Maybe on both sides of the fence, actually, the client needs to understand what he's asking for, and the contractor needs to understand what he's bidding. And again, if you go back to first principles, you get some colour pens out of a box and you go through drawings, you just mark everything up so you know that everything's been priced. You know that when you go to your supply chain, to your subcontractors and say, right, this is what I want you to do, what's the cost for X, what's the cost for Y, you're going to get that, and you're going to be able to put that into that final bid, that final presentation to the client, in the full knowledge that everything is covered. You don't, or you shouldn't get a second bite of the cherry. You shouldn't be going back in 3 months' time saying, "Oh, sorry, I forgot we're going to use bricks. I haven't allowed for any bricks." You've got to be far smarter, and by doing that, it goes back again to that relationship building and the honesty. I keep saying it, transparency between you and your client team.
And I mean, you mentioned like a big part of that trust is essentially built up over time, and that's where I suppose the advantage of the tier ones that have been, winning contracts for hundreds of years have the luxury of doing that. However, how would you say, for smaller businesses or businesses that haven't been around and really trying to break into those larger contracts, what advice would you give them around building the trust of the end customer, and general advice for I suppose how they can, break into those, larger contracts.
Is a really interesting question. The tier one guys are they're based on its scale, its capacity, it's the support network that they have, which will allow Rourke to deliver an airport terminal. Even some of the better tier twos, they can do parts of it. They can't do all of it. If you try and drill down to smaller contractors, still there's a role for them. Yes, if you did, I don't know, some specialist glazing, some structural glazing, for example, it'll be a one-off. So you'll need that specialist input from someone who knows that inside out. But they play into the tier one rather than trying to become a tier one contractor because that's their specialism. So there's just a need to let the big boys do what they do. It's all competitive. They all want to win the next big job, but use the skills. Maybe as we get to a point in the construction life where there's more and more data available and there's more capacity to understand how things truly work. If
Mm.
that's number crunching or what have you, there maybe is a space for these smaller contractors to get more engaged because they have the capacity to understand and regurgitate that data for you. And maybe rambling here, this probably doesn't help the podcast, but you've just got to get to a point where, yes, small guys desperately important because not everybody can do everything for everybody. But in terms of a tier one contractor, either they have the resource and the outreach to go and find these people to bring them into their team to build those specific parts out of the build.
Yeah, totally. But and where does the advantage of smaller contractors lie? Is it purely in that specialist of, the specialist skills that they have in their, chosen work, or is there any other advantages to working with smaller contractors as opposed to, the larger tier ones?
Depends what you're delivering. Cool, blimey. If you go back a long way in my life, back to the 90s, we were building the Harbour Club in Chelsea, which is still trading and trading very well. And we built there the first ever real tennis court since Henry VIII's day. So you're using contractors who have a skill set. We were plastering the walls. We're using terrazzo polishers, the big floor polishers, to polish these walls smooth so the ball would do what it needed to do. And then there's all the carpentry pieces around that. So you were using small, very specialised contractors who had the capacity to produce the most beautiful turned oak columns and all the bits and pieces that you need for something that hasn't been built for 400 or 500 years. So all of these people have a place, and it's not until, this may sound a bit daft, it's not until you need that specialism that you go out and look for it. Could a tier one contractor build that? They'd get the frame up, they get the structure built, but then you need the niche specialists to come in and do the truly beautiful finishing work. So there's a place in this market for everybody, absolutely for everybody. But you've got to be good at what you do, otherwise you're not going to get picked.
Yeah, 100% agree. As with all sort of products, services, etc. Onto
Yes.
technology now. Onto technology. I suppose quickly, like, how would you say over your career you saw technology change from, back when you started to, kind of the last couple years?
This well, yes, I'm horribly old, Jamie. I can remember
I was
my
trying to
very
be
first.
polite.
um, I can remember my first fax machine, and that was just like manna from heaven. That was just the most wonderful thing. You could get drawings through a telephone line, and that was remarkable until you left them in the sunlight, of course, and they just all turned black. I can remember the first mobile phone, size of a bloody briefcase, carrying it around in the car. So we've gone from a paper-based economy to a digital economy, and we're all the better for it. The information is there; it can be there immediately. I think the whole process of communication and sharing of information is so much better. And I go back even just to the last year or so when I sat down with Sam and looked at what my tender IO could do. I was completely blown away. As an old workhorse like myself, and I'd just been putting PCSAs together, doing that type of work, and here was a platform with the capacity to take the drudgery out of that that chunk of work. Why take 8 months to do something which can now be done in, let's say, be done in 8 weeks? You're allowing people who are getting that close to a client team to actually engage at a human level, because a computer machine is doing a lot of the work for you in the background. Too many people seem a bit spooked by it, thinking it's going to take their jobs away. I'd say actually the reverse is true. If you've got something doing the hard work for you, you've got time to engage with the client and really understand what it is you're going to be asked to build.
100%. I mean, there's a massive amount of scope that we believe that technology can enable for not just, bid teams, but, the whole sales function, the whole business. Because one of my sort of things is that with new technology, it's always kind of like the temptation is to think, okay, well, now we're X amount more efficient. That means we could do the same role as we were doing, but just with less people and sort of more technology. But that's kind of a zero sum view of how the technology works and the amount of value it can deliver. So when you take it from the perspective of now you have not a bid writer that is taking all of their time looking through previous documents, finding the relevant content, and manually writing it from scratch, it's now they're so much more enabled to do proper deep customer research, really understanding the best solution for that customer, and then effectively communicating that through the bid response. So yeah, 100% agree on that front. I suppose in terms of like looking forward to the future, even on-site technology that you potentially see, even with AI, and potentially even scoping like this is probably very far in, well, maybe 5 years or so, 5, 10 years, but even potentially like the potential for robotics in construction, which is potentially quite a way off. But yeah, like how do you see, technology impacting the work that is done on site over the next 5 years?
Robotics, definitely. We are we're an aging workforce. You can get robots that will lay bricks. You can get there are pieces of kit out there that can do the work that humans used to do. They're clearly capable of lifting heavy weights. There's all that good stuff. There's a lot of innovation in terms of products and the materials that we use. I think, from my perspective, that the beauty of being where we are now is that there's a wealth of data that businesses have captured over the years, and it can be in paper format, and there'll be drawers full of stuff in terms of how piles react, how loadings of buildings are transferred, and information like that. If that can be gathered and interrogated, the design of future buildings can be that much sharper. You don't need to have a factor of three safety in terms of anything structural. If you can start dumbing that down, buildings get easier to build. And I think that really, to me, is where the future lies. It's not just digging a hole and pouring concrete into it. We should be asking, why are we even using concrete? Is there a better way? More can we do as human beings to make our life better? And there's a lot going on. Embedded carbon, all of the things that are driving the economy at the moment. Ukraine, Iran, fuel costs. There's all of these impact on what we are able to do. And we're again, rambling, apologies, but there's a need to sharpen up our act. Just do things better and have that capacity to understand from historic data what we can make better. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I had one of my old boxing coaches was worked on site and would always come in moaning about his how his back was sore, and he's
Mm.
in his late 50s, still having to do manual carrying of a bunch of bricks all day every day. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think any sort of scope for automating some of the manual work as well with things like robotics, or even the exact methods that are used on site to make buildings more effective, more strong, more reliable. I think all of that is, yeah, it's going to be extremely exciting to see how it develops. I think there's so much room for innovation across everything right now, which is the exciting part.
So
Finishing
just picking
up,
up on that, that
yeah, of
comes back
course.
to your quality piece as well. If you've got that 60-40 split in terms of quality against cost, if the quality at the front end is better, the buildings will last longer. So you don't design something to last for 40 years, maybe you design something to last for 50 years. And that all has an impact beyond my lifetime. It will make things better for future generations if we can embrace that need just to do things properly, don't cut corners, but just be more professional about what we do.
Yeah, totally. Right, ending up on a bit of fun, Steve.
Fun or good,
Yeah, it's going to
that's
be
me.
essentially a would you rather. So I got a couple questions here, and you can quickly answer which ones you'd rather. Hopefully, they'll be quite interesting. So starting off with, would you rather manage a project with unlimited budget, but the worst subcontractors, or a very, very, very little budget, but with the best team in the country? Which one are you taking there?
The latter, most definitely. You want to work with good people, you want to be inspired by people, you want to be there's just that intellectual sparring. There's a need to engage. Just throwing money away for no reason just doesn't appeal. Not at all.
100%. Massively agree on that point. Would you rather manage a site with no mobile signal for a year or no car park?
You can't answer that. Where's the site? If the site's in London,
I'm gonna say
I'll go
I'm
for
gonna
no car park.
no, no, it's in the countryside.
In the country, right? We need a car park. So yeah, let's go back to the 80s. Let's not have a mobile phone. Let's do what we need to do. Bring an armful of paperwork back and pop it in a pigeonhole. That works
Yeah.
too.
Or get one of Elon Musk's got Starlinks, maybe.
Well, there you are. Answer to
Yeah,
all of our
exactly.
problems.
Early start or late finish?
Early start every time. Every time.
Nice. And then, yeah, yeah, I know pretty much all the construction folks at early start, like
But
ones that get
even
into my
now,
bog.
you're heading towards retirement. You're still up before 6. It's just it's body clock. It's set for life. I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad I'm not working in construction. But I mean, with my old boxing coach, when we do like hill sprints and stuff, he'd be at my door at like 6 in the morning on a Saturday, and I'd be like, really, really not too keen about that. That was his
6
clock.
halfway through the day. You should be on a train by then.
And then finally, would you rather win a job on price or win a job on quality?
Yeah, we've touched on that already. It's got to be one on quality. You can walk away and just know that you've done you've done the right thing. And I'm old enough now to take my son into London and you walk around. And I said, I built that. We did this. We did this. As my bosses and earlier generations did to me. And it's just great to think that no matter what life's thrown at you, you have some tangible evidence of the good that you've done during your working life. And if ever you're free, I'll walk you around so I can show you things that are truly remarkable.
100%. No, I mean it's truly great some of the projects, some of the things you've built and delivered with such quality, Steve. I know you're such a quality driven person in all aspects of the things that you do. So yeah, I mean, really appreciate you taking the time, Steve. And yeah, thank you anyone for listening in.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks, Jamie.